Hello, this is another tough video, tell a friend video, and this time on the topic that there are actually very few people on the earth. And the trigger for that was a video by Elon Musk where he said that we will soon have too few people on the world. And I also agree, I always intuitively agreed that there are not too many people on the world. Now, the social problem that if they all move to cities and so on, and they have globalized cities that have 10 million, 20, 30 million people living there, that might cause a problem from society, okay? Because maybe we would rather like to live in groups of 50 in the woods, I don't know, or compromise between the two. But the claim is there is, and that's my claim, there's very few people on the earth. And now, in order to calculate that, just some rough numbers. What Elon, as he always does, he does a first principle analysis, and what he says is that in New York, you could put all people in the world. Now, New York, you can see it's kind of 33 kilometers times 33 kilometers. So that's 1,000 square kilometers. Yeah, kilometers in square. Now, just to put that in relation to the whole world has a terrain of 150 million square kilometers, which means that is 150,000 more than this. So you can put this thing 150,000 times like New York in the whole world. So that means you would have all people standing in New York, and not even considering that they have skyscrapers. They just stand flat next to each other in the area of New York, which is about 30 kilometers. Now, to imagine now, in just a side note, the energy that we get from the sun that shines on an area of 300 kilometers times 300 kilometers actually produces or gives us the sun, puts the same energy on the earth than the humans consume. So that means this is here what we can see 100 times more. So kind of this is the energy we get from the sun, and that is if we would pack all people like in this desert, then they would take this terrain, and the world would be 15,000 times bigger than this. So that means just from this first principle approach, there's very few people on the earth. And just to give a few more kind of rules of thumb, because I think that is the important thing that you have in your mind, some rules of thumb. Why? Because when you think, you don't look up things. You think, and then you draw conclusions. Subconsciously, during the night, during talks, when you think, you don't Google everything all the time. So that means you need some rules of thumb. So when you look at Germany, each German has, that's a funny number, it actually came out 4,444 square meters for himself. Yeah. So when you look at a family, like 4 people, they live in a flat or in a house, then they would have 20,000 square meters, and their house is maybe just this small with the terrain. So there is actually, even in a very crowded country, there is excess of land. Now, if you look at the world, each person that lives on the world, of these 9 billion people, has 17,000 square meters. And that is only the terrain. So that is only the earth where you can walk. It's not the oceans, the water. And the oceans are kind of 4 times the earth. So that means I calculated now 4 times, it might have been better to calculate with times 3. So let's calculate with times 3. So you have 50,000 square meters per person. 50,000, approximately 50,000. That is about a football pitch. Yeah, so about the size of a football pitch that each person has. You know, when he is together with like 10 friends or 10 neighbors or a family of 10, they would have 500,000 square meters. And now this just to show how much space a person has. And now the thing is, if you look at a country, then usually you see that there are very few cities where lots of people live, and then you have a lot of rural areas where nobody lives. Yeah, and in the cities, people actually live in skyscrapers or in houses that are 4 to 10 floors high. So they are very, you know, in very small areas, lots of people, and in other areas there's nobody. You know, and now a lot of people now say, yes, but we need to grow food for people. But the thing is, each square meter, you know, if you, for example, plant grain or corn or potatoes, each square meter produces 8 kilograms of grain or potatoes, some a little bit more, in some areas a little bit less, and so on, but about 8 kilo. Now, if you look at that, that's 1 square meter. Now, I would say a person would eat maybe, how many kilo? 80 kilo? 80 kilos of potatoes. So that's 10 square meters. So you would need 10 square meters to grow the food you need. Obviously, you want to eat meat. Some people like to eat meat. Some people like to eat other fruit and so on. So multiply that by 10. You know, so it's 800 square meters. And that means you can eat every day meat. You can every day eat avocados and so on. So all these foods that require a lot of water and a lot of space and so on. So that means with 800 square meters, you are fully satisfied. You have enough to eat, really enough. With 10 square meters. Sorry, with 10 square meters you have enough. With 100 you can eat really everything. Sorry, that is 100 square meters. And now look at that. What we have on the world, we have 17,000 square meters only on the earth. The oceans are not calculated, and the oceans, there's fish, there's plants in the, you know, you could also use the oceans, you know, so that's not a limit. So that means you have 17,000, and here you have, so that is almost factor 200 to feed us. You know, if you take that people just eat rice and potatoes, that would be factor 2,000. So that is, my claim is, the world could sustain, I write that in red, could sustain 1,000 billion people. Yeah? I don't want to imagine what that would mean in terms of society and so on, but the world can sustain 1,000 billion people. Yes, and that is not even squeezing things out, like going horizontally, growing 3-dimensional, moving into the oceans and so on. So that's not even, so the world can easily feed 1,000 billion people, so 100 times than we have now. And so this talk about we need to reduce population and so, that's complete and utter bullshit. And it comes obviously from some people that have ideas that CO2 is too high and so on. Now the thing is, it could be that these 1,000 billion people cause a lot of pollution. Yes, but technology allows us to, like with the energy the sun shine, you know, look at this area. That was, as we calculated, what was that? 15,000 times more the energy. This would be 100 times. So still 15,000. So it still would be 150 times more energy from the sun than 1,000 billion people would consume, would need as energy. And this, you know, if you take the sunlight, then, well, there is no CO2 problem, because the CO2 is a, you know, a give and take. If plants grow, then they take the CO2, they grow, and then when you burn the plants, or you eat the plants, or your cows eat the plant and then fart, they produce, I think there was something like 10 to 20% of the CO2. Now, the CO2 thing is also some big like hype. The CO2, it's about 8% is produced by humans. The rest is produced by nature. So that means it's a relatively small part. And with technology, we can actually make sure so that we don't burn that much fossil fuel. Then within the next 10, 15, 20 years, there will be no problem with CO2. Where's the problem? Where's the problem with too many people? And where is the problem with global heating? There is none. So comments are most welcome. Yeah, I thought this is actually a nice thing. And please consider, whenever you intuitively think, you need these rules of thumb. You can't look up, while you think, you do not look up facts in Google, in a dictionary. You do not. You use the things you have in your brain and at hand, and that is why you need these rules of thumbs. Germans, 4,000 square meters, worldwide 17,000 square meters. About 10 square meters are enough to grow enough potatoes to feed somebody. 300 times 300 is the underworld, is the desert that takes enough energy from the sun to supply all humans with that. All people could stand in New York. Obviously, that means a person stands next to another person. So there will be 10 people on a square meter. Yes, but that is the first principle approach. So you could jam all people in New York, and then you would have in no other place in the world you have people. Think about that. And then, yeah, review your idea. We have too many people on the world, and we have too much CO2. It's complete bullshit. The social things with society, having too many people, globalized world, globalized societies, that's another issue. Yes, that's something. But why don't we say, well, we can feed lots of people, we can host lots of people, but we need to look at the society problem. Okay, then we do that. Then we at least solve the problem we have, or we might have. So please have many kids. We will soon be a population that, you know, the world, I would say, needs more people, and more smart people, more people thinking, more free people, more independent people, and so on. That's it. Thank you very much for listening, and comments are most welcome. Bye-bye.